I'm Scott Weatherly. Welcome to 20th Century Geek. In this introductory episode, I'm going to set out what you can expect from and what I want to achieve with this fortnightly podcast. I have always been fascinated by where ideas come from and what influenced them. My dad always says that when you meet someone, that person is carrying with them their story, everything that has made them what they are leading up to that moment. I believe that the same can be said for everything creative we consume on a daily basis. Books, TV, music, films, even toys. What is the story that leads to the creation of that item? This podcast is going to explore the story of pop culture and its influences from and impacts on the 20th century. Each episode I will take a look at an element of pop culture that has its roots in the 20th century, whether that's comics, films, TV, gaming or music, and explore how it was born and its wider place in history, as well as biographies of key creators. I will also review key pop culture milestones from comics and films to music and books. For each episode topic, I may take a different approach. Some will be structured reads, others will be roundtable discussions, and I am also hoping to conduct some interviews. My hope is that using these different approaches will provide different perspectives on the topics and keep things interesting. As of 2016, geek culture is king. Comic-Cons are media darlings and franchise launchpads. Superheroes fill every tentpole summer movie and adorn almost everything from toy shelves, lunchboxes, t-shirts and trading cards. Horror and fantasy TV shows are the water cooler topics of choice, and blockbuster computer games have bigger budgets than movies. However, this hasn't always been the case, and these genre topics have struggled to fight their way out of the shadows of parents' basements to be the giants they are at the moment. As a fan, it's great, although sometimes daunting, to have such a wide variety of content to choose from in every medium. I'm literally spoilt for choice. There are so many shows, films, books and comics that I add to my to-do list every week. I'm sure I'll be very busy for years to come. However, as I said, this hasn't always been the case. As the popularity of these previously maligned genres has grown, I have become more intrigued by where all this has come from. Who were the men and women that created and contributed to the genres and characters so many people love today? Why did they become so popular? And what of the characters and ideas that have fallen by the wayside? How has social change impacted and been impacted by pop culture? And is it possible to get an understanding of history from the characters, stories and ideas created by the people living it? These are the questions I want to explore with this podcast. So, what is my story? I have been a comic fan since I was introduced to 2000 AD in my adolescence during the early 1990s. 2000 AD is the gateway drug for many British comic fans, and something I will definitely cover in a future episode. Each issue opened a door for me and I happily walked through into a whole new world. During the 90s, I was swept up in the birth of Image and extreme characters. I was young enough to love the wild art and not mind the less than stellar storytelling. In the 20 plus years since I was first introduced to Judge Dredd and his comic cohorts, my love and collection has grown in size and sophistication. I hope to explore both the wham bam and literary nature of comics in this show. However, it isn't only with pictures that I love to read. From an early age I was told stories and had books read to me on a regular basis. I loved these stories, and family legend has it that as a child I would often state I couldn't wait to be able to read and choose books for myself. As an adult, I'm never found without a book. It has become such a part of my routine that I now consider having whatever book I am reading on me in the same way I regard my wallet and keys. I should also mention that while I own a Kindle, I'm not a digital book fan. I much prefer the tactile nature of a real book and have been known to take in the smell from the centre pages of any old book. I'd struggle to explain why I enjoy that smell or what it means to me, but I know I'm not alone. I'm also the perfect age to have enjoyed the great advances in early gaming consoles. I'm not overstating when I say I lost weekends to Sonic the Hedgehog, Echo the Dolphin, and the amazing Disney Aladdin game. These titles might make it clear to some that I was a Sega child. While my involvement in gaming has waned over the years, I still enjoy seeing how it has developed to become a cinematic and immersive experience. I am hoping that doing this podcast will give me the opportunity to step back into that world and try some of the games I have missed. Mixed in with this has grown a preference for rock and heavy metal music. I received my first CD player on my 11th birthday, and with it the soundtrack to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. My mind was blown. Yes, I know, but please remember this was my first exposure. It could only get better. This may not be a high watermark of the genre, but I think Kiss's God Gave Rock and Roll to You and Slaughter's Shout It Out are awesome, and they got me hooked. After this I started listening to anything current I could get my hands on. Metallica, Megadeth, even Meatloaf. Maybe not in the same vein, but Bat Out of Hell 2 is an awesome album. From these bands I worked backwards into the 1980s and 70s, making clear connections and influences. My tastes have widened as I have gotten older, but I will always go back to Kill 'Em All, Number of the Beast, and yes, Bat Out of Hell 2. But before I knew any of these, I was already harbouring an obsession for movies. I have vivid memories of going to the local pre-Blockbuster video rental shop with my parents and being given the choice of which film to rent and choosing Ghostbusters time and time again. I can still recall the smell of that shop and the rows of increasingly battered VHS cases. As I got a little older, having a local video shop owner who believed the age restrictions on films was more guidance than law gave me access to films that I was most definitely too young to watch and in most cases fully understand. I drifted towards horror films, reasoning that these were the films I shouldn't be seeing, but thrilling at the fact I was. My memory names the shop owner as Dave. Whether this is the case, I cannot really confirm, but Dave was great. He pointed me in the direction of films he thought I would like and what he thought of them. He also let me have loads of movie posters and standees from the shop when he was done with them, much to my parents' chagrin. I had a standee for The Gate 2 in my room for ages. It was a 3D stand of the video cover, a green demon hand reaching out of the ground, bathed in moonlight. A disappointing film, but a great standee. It was also Dave that introduced me to film magazines, when he gave me a couple of worn copies of Fangoria and Starburst. I don't really recall what happened to Dave, only that the shop closed and became a salon before I went to university. I wonder if he ever knew my name or the influence he had on my life. I think these odd Yoda-like characters and the relationships have been lost in the digital age. Also, in the spirit of the show, I want to credit my influences when it comes to why I am doing this podcast and how I intend to structure it. The first influence is the great ambassador for geek culture, Kevin Smith. I could mention any or all of his films, but the real reason he is so influential to me is his theory of being a why not person. Sometimes there are things that we want to do and people will try and discourage us, asking, why would you do that? We are only here for a short time and only get so many opportunities to produce something creative that we can be passionate about. So instead of listening to the people that ask why, think, why not? Structurally and content-wise, the two clearest influences are Aaron Mahnke's Law, a fascinating show that has set a production and content quality standard that I will attempt to reach. This is a lofty ambition which may take a while, but please stick with me. The second is Eric Molinsky's Imaginary Worlds, a podcast about, as he puts it, how we create them and why we suspend our disbelief. I am hoping that as I explore pop culture history, I will also start to understand the same how and why. I highly recommend both of these shows. If you want to find out more, please follow the links in the show notes or search for them on whatever device you use to listen to podcasts. To give a hint at the areas I will be covering in future episodes, here is a short list of some of the topics I have in my notebook. Early superhero influences, the impact of Hammer horror, women in comics, characters and creators, 80s metal, hair versus thrash, Carry On films, a British phenomena, and the wrestling Friday Night Wars. If there is a topic that you would like me to cover, please contact me on Twitter at 20th Century Geek, through the website www.20thcenturygeek.com, or email me directly at 20thcenturygeek@gmail.com. I should note that 20th is the numerals 20. I have a long list of ideas, but I would be thrilled to add to it with anything that people want to know more about. Please also use these channels to provide any and all feedback. I want to know that I am new to this, and if I am going to improve, I need to know what you think. Before I finish, I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this introductory show, and hope that it has piqued your interest enough for you to join me on future shows. Thank you for your time. I'm Scott Weatherly, and this has been 20th Century Geek.